Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm Brian Call. Today, my guest is Tate Bradfield. He owns Process-Based Hunter. It's a pretty unique company that he's been building, service that he's providing. He's here to really help hunters, especially newer hunters or hunters who have never elk hunted, let's say, rifle or bow, sort of combines guiding with training. It's a really interesting discussion. I think you're going to like it. If you're a newer hunter, this is especially for you. If you're a guy back east or traveling from out of country and you want to come and hunt the West and come and hunt elk, this is a show for you. Hope you enjoy it. Let us know what you think in the comment section of this video. Thanks for supporting us. Stay gritty. All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm Brian Call, and I'm joined today by Tate Bradfield, who is the owner of Process-Based Hunter.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into what that is here in the show in just a minute. But basically, you provide sort of an outfitting / educational service to hunters.
Very much, yeah.
It's very in that affordable range for guys that are just have no idea where to begin. So if you're one of those guys that, you know, you've never come out west, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Prime guy. Need some help, don't know even where to begin.
Yep, or the guy that's come out west 3 or 4 times and has not shot an elk or has not seen an elk. Those are the guys as well. Or if you just want to learn a little bit more, we take those guys too. So
okay. So before we get into that, Tate, how old are you?
30.
30 years old.
I'm
All right.
30.
And tell me a little bit about how you grew up.
So I grew up in Southeast Idaho, very much in a farming community. Not necessarily potato farms, oddly enough. There's no potato fields where I grew up. You go an hour north, and it's
how can
nothing.
you call yourself an Idahoan?
I ate a lot of potatoes growing up. But my dad started taking me hunting, man, when I was probably 4 or 5 for mule deer. And most of my younger life, that's all I hunted was mule deer. And I remember just being so ecstatic every time my dad would take me hunting. I remember the first animal I ever shot was a grouse when I was probably, I don't know, I can't remember the legal age back then. It was 10 or 11, but it was the first thing I shot, and I centered that thing with a 12 gauge and pretty well made it disappear. But that's kind of what got me into the love of hunting. I just really enjoy the outdoors just because of where I grew up. It's my roots are in the mountains.
Yeah.
So
you grew up with it, and somehow today you're outfitting, guiding, kind of.
Yeah.
You just got back from Mexico.
Yeah, I did. And I don't necessarily outfit down there. I'm more of the host. I know a few ranchers down there, and the hunting in Mexico in certain places is incredible.
Yeah.
And so I kind of bring people down to different landowners and I just really enjoy going down there. It's an excuse for me to go mostly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've been down there a couple times now for coos deer, and especially where it's more do it yourself.
Yeah.
You know, we got a spot on a map, and there's like usually a little cement hacienda.
You're like, good luck.
And there's no electricity. There's no water. And they bring us a ton of bottled water and a little bit of food.
Yeah.
We show up, we bring our own stuff, we drive down, bring the side-by-sides with us, fuel up after we get there, you know, a lot of gas cans. Okay, folks, if you like the show and you want to support us and you're in the market for a brand new sleeping bag, check out the Peaks Solace 15. We spent a lot of years designing that sleeping bag in partnership with Peaks Equipment. The Peaks sleeping bag has so many innovative features. The old backpacker saying that 2 is 1 and 1 is none is never more true. And this sleeping bag is so versatile. It can be a quilt. It can be a jacket. It's got armholes. It's a 3-way zipper. It regulates temperature really well. It's got the hood. It's pretty remarkable. Go check it out. Use the code GRITTY and you'll save. And it helps us keep doing what we do. Now, let's get back to the show. And then we have this massive acreage all to ourselves. That's
Which is
just
incredible.
Sonoran Desert mountains. And we just explore the hell out of it. And it's literally nothing but wilderness. I mean, it feels as much like you pick a wilderness area in the United States, be it Wyoming, Montana, Idaho. these areas in Mexico feel every bit as wild.
Oh, yeah.
Like untouched.
They do. And in fact, you feel completely alone in some of the places because there's literally no one. Especially,
I think, where the desert areas are, where we spend our time. There's not really nothing grows other than desert type stuff. Yes. So there's no. It's not like you're running into cartels or into.
They're like, they don't want to be there either.
There's nothing for them there. So you truly do have this little slice of ranch heaven.
Yeah.
There's a few cows, not many. They move them from spot to spot, but it is peaceful too. So quiet. So quiet.
Comparatively to the U.S. Mm-hmm. And almost anywhere in the mountains, like even if I'm 5, 6, 7 miles up, sometimes you'll hear a plane go overhead or things like that.
And you just hear like sort of the mountain sound. If you're at 10,000 feet, the wind, and it's forested. I'm bear hunting in the spring. There's just kind of sounds. Now it can be a little still, but the desert can be still, just like
very still.
And that I kind of dig it. Just there is like, I love the sunshine too. So it's it's dead winter. It's like January or February or something. You're down there in Mexico,
and it's beautiful.
It's
weather,
just the
honestly.
Weather's so perfect. It's like it's not too hot, it's not too cold, and it's still and quiet. Sometimes so still it seems like there's nothing alive out there. I mean,
and then you look in and there's rabbits running all over the place.
Yeah, rabbits, birds. There's a few
roadrunners, all that kind of
stuff. But it'll hit this window during the day where it's like, is there anything alive? Where it just seems like it gets hot enough,
nothing moves,
and the wind is dead, and everything just stays still for a while. And
that was very
hard
artistically put.
It's hard to explain until you go there. I've tried in a few KUIU deer films I've made to make you feel that stillness.
Yeah.
Arizona, similarly, there were days like that hunting KUIU deer and mule deer. Only you run into people there.
One thing I've noticed, even in Idaho, Utah, places like that, when you're in the wilderness areas, mm-hmm. it's different from spring to fall. The sounds that you hear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? And the feelings that you get. So like spring bear hunting, central Idaho, versus mm-hmm. elk hunting in the fall, central Idaho.
Yeah, very true.
Very different. And it's the same thing in Mexico, actually.
I'm working on a couple of bear films.
Yeah.
From previous hunts that no one has seen yet. And, in the film, it's caused me to reflect a lot on hunting, all the places I've been, all the hunts that are on the calendar for this year that I'm sort of planning on doing.
Yeah.
And I started to ask myself, what is it that, what if I could only do one hunt ever the rest of my life?
What is it?
What would it be?
Yeah.
What animal would it be?
That's hard.
And I'm sitting there and I'm going over it. And I can honestly say, if I had to choose just one the rest of my life, it would be spring bear.
I do love spring bear. I do.
I thought about it a lot because it's like, could I give this up? Could I give that up? Could I give up elk with a bow during the rut? All that kind of stuff. But and then I started asking myself, why does my gut say spring bear? It wasn't actually that hard to decide. It's like, duh. Why? What is it about it? And so I've been asking myself, trying to figure that out. And I got lots of ideas on why spring bear might be the best. But I think it's where the craziest things have happened. My best adventures have been.
Oh, yeah.
Spring.
I see more wolves in the spring, too.
Me, too.
Yeah.
I see more wolves. I see more like animal fights. I see new life being born. I love the weather.
Yeah.
I love that time of year, how everything's coming alive and it's not too cold. Every day it should get warmer instead of colder.
Yes.
There's not this oppressive feeling of the fall.
And longer instead of shorter days.
Yeah. You can sleep out under the stars in the middle of a bear hunt 5 or 6 days in a row.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need to even set up a shelter, kick out of bed, and we just cowboy camp. There's just all these things that happen during spring. And then bears themselves do the wildest ass crazy stuff on earth. They just do.
They do.
Climbing trees and knocking things over. And they're the most fascinating, I feel like, to watch.
I shot a bear in Alaska this last fall, 2024. I shot it on the tundra. I mean, it was flat. I was like, where is this thing going to hibernate?
Yeah.
Where do they go?
They're crazy, aren't they? You can find a bear in almost every climate, from like all the way north in the deep snow to the Mexico desert I was telling you about.
Yeah.
There's bears cruising around.
And we've seen bears in there.
Yeah.
Big bears.
Big. And you sit there and you're like,
are you lost?
yeah. But you realize how adaptable these suckers are,
yeah.
and how much they just spread across the entire world. And you can even find bears on, of other, like your sun bear and other bears. And it seems like there's a bear species of a type kind of everywhere.
Yeah. South America.
And to watch them interact and act bizarre, and they each have almost as varied personalities as human beings. That's neat too, because some like to wander all over and have a certain food preference, and other ones like to just stay put and eat only one item, while others need a varied exploration. It's like they're so unique, each bear.
Oh, yeah.
That you can't just say all bears do X, Y, Z. It's like, no, they're as odd as humans almost in their temperaments.
We took a guy bear hunting last year. It was not just for fun, a friendship type of a hunt. And we took him out, and we see a bear, and he's like, let's go. And I was like, no, we got to watch it for a little while.
Yeah.
Like, let's just watch it, see what he does. He may cruise up over the next mountain, or he may spend the next 2 hours in the same spot.
Especially given the time of year.
Yeah.
It's like the bear, he could be there for 2 hours and gone, forever. Or he could be, he could stay there for 5 days in the same meadow.
He won't go more than a mile, right? Mm-hmm. Which those are the convenient ones.
Yeah, those are that's more how we target black bear seasons. Is there seems to be in certain areas at certain elevations, as the snow melts and wildflowers start to pop. You got their glacier lilies and your balsam root flowers and all of that. When you start to see that, that's when the green up happens, right at the perfect time of exiting hibernation, so that they actually stay in the same spot for 3 to 5 days at a time.
Yeah.
And that's when we kill the most bears. First of all, they're right where we kind of know they're in that salad bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no other salad bowls available because nothing else has greened up yet. So you hit that salad bowl, and also it holds them there for long enough that you can, if you see them 2 miles off, you can like make your way there.
That's the hardest part with spring bears, is a lot of times they're in places where it's like grass, trees, and you're catching them in between the grass and the trees. And sometimes, depends on where you're at, obviously, but sometimes you'll find them from 2 or 3 miles away. You'll get to where you could shoot them.
They're gone. Yeah, we tend to target more open country units for that reason, because if it's a sparser treed area, it doesn't mean there's not a lot of forest. It's just that there's vast open areas as well. It is so much easier to kill a black bear.
So much easier.
But those thick timbered areas, like if you go up the Panhandle in Idaho or something,
it's rough.
You're just kind of at the mercy of sitting over a clear cut and hoping something
wanders through
a gravel road. It's sort of like POW for Prince of Wales or Southeast Alaska.
Yeah.
A lot of that was either you're on the coastline in a skiff, kind of looking for a bear to come out on the ocean, on all those inlets and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe for mussels, they're digging around, or they're eating the green up right there. You kind of are looking for a bear there, or you're walking logging roads where the shoulders have a lot of grass and vegetation
on them.
They'll
get on the shoulders. They'll feed along the shoulders.
Because there's some good feed there, and they'll pop back into the trees. But you'll find bear scat in logging roads like that. But what are the odds of the bear and you on a 3 mile stretch, like actually walking out on the road at the exact same time? Do you know how many times I've hiked those roads and it's like, there's nothing. I hike back 2 hours later and there's like 4 piles of bear shit. And I'm like, dude, after a while, I was like, that's when I started actually setting up ambush, just waiting for days on the road in the same spot where you had a good 400 yard. The ships in the night, like passing each other and missing each other is too common in thick areas. You get to a point where it's better off. You just set up a spot and you just wait, and eventually in a 7-day, 5-day window, a bear will present itself,
Yeah, if you're in a good area, a bear's going to come through.
Hey folks, pardon the interruption, but I've got to tell you about this new Tricer RP bipod for your rifle. This thing is incredible. It's going to take the market by storm. You're going to want one. Everyone will. It's like no other bipod on the market. It's been designed to do everything in one bipod, which is generally not what we have available to us on the market today. Use the code GRITTY over at Tricer and you will save. Whether you're shooting from a prone or sitting position, this bipod adapts seamlessly to every field environment. You're going to get rock solid stability when it matters most. This bipod includes everything for $299. You've got the long legs, the short legs, you got spikes, you got rubber feet, Arca Swiss, Picatinny compatible, plus a swivel stud to Picatinny adapter, giving you unmatched flexibility for any hunting scenario. Bottom line, this is the last bipod you'll ever need. Use the code GRITTY over at Tricer.com. You'll get a discount and you'll get the last bipod you'll ever need. All right, let's get back to the show.
I've gotten to the point in Idaho or really anywhere that I bear hunt that if it's really thick, I'll find somewhere in the unit that's not.
Yeah.
Just the worst is glassing and burns because half the stumps look like a bear.
I know. Especially if they're black. You know, if you're in an area, and I've been in areas where, you know, probably 10% of the bears are black.
Yeah.
And the rest are red or brown.
Or this color here.
Yeah.
Right?
And they just kind of pop a little better in some of that. But like the Oregon coast, the more I get to forested areas, the more black the bears get. The more I'm in arid, open country, the more color phase black bear you see.
I haven't hunted bears in enough places to notice that, being honest with you. It's only been Alaska and Idaho for me.
Yeah.
And Utah. But
yeah, if you hit those arid, open, sunny units, it's rare to find a black.
Really?
Color phase. Yeah.
Which actually makes sense. I think of the area we were in last year, we saw five bears. No, five bears in like a 4-day period.
Yeah.
And one of them was black.
Yeah.
The other 4 were blonde, actually.
Like in Mexico, for example, when you run across a bear in the desert, they're rarely black. They're almost always a color phase. Brown. Yeah. Brown usually. And so we could speculate onto why. I also see like the blondest, whitest white color, like the really light
almost like an
orange,
polar bear
white.
Type.
Yeah. I never see any large ones.
I don't either, actually.
Every single one looks like it's 3 years or younger, 4-year-old bear maybe. And so we started to, we haven't confirmed this, but we have a theory because we just killed so many that look like this.
Yeah.
But they're, you know, this is a red kind of blondish.
Cinnamonish.
Yeah. And then you got over here like a real brown red. Well, our theory is when they're young, they're like this. As they age, they turn more dark red.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because the big ones, I honestly don't think that it's just that all the whitish blonde ones died.
Yeah.
Before they reach a certain age, or they cap out at a size, they're just genetically smaller. That's not it. I am convinced at this point that their coats just darken up as they age.
They get older.
So it's hard to find like some, 6.5 foot black bear that's just neon yellow in the mountains of Idaho. You can find that bear when it's 5 feet. But
not a 7-foot bear or 6.5 foot bear.
No, I think they darken up. That's my theory.
I saw a good bear last year, but I would have put him at about a good bear for a blonde bear.
Yeah.
That he was really white though. I would put him at 5 or 5.5 feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I hunted Alaska for grizz.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's on my bucket list.
There's a couple of inland areas where they have the toe-clat color phase.
Yeah.
Black bears or grizzly bears where they're almost blonde. They also have polar bear, like white, full on white grizzly bears.
That'd be cool.
And I have some pictures of some that are mounted in the local Cabela's there in the cities, the various areas. And you can see some even in Shields and stuff in some of these areas where they're, taken from these locations in Alaska where these black bears are legit like white, and the toe clad is kind of like yellow blonde with black, like dark brown legs.
I'm a sucker for color phase bears of any variety, honestly. Like black is cool. I've shot a few black bears, but You give me a color phase. I'm always like, I'm not going to shoot a little one. And then I see a color phase I haven't shot before, and I'm like, I might shoot a little one.
Yeah. Over the years, I have leaned a little more on blonde and like super bright color phase bears, and they're always younger, and I pass because they're not big enough. I'm now leaning more on, taking those bears when I see them.
Yeah.
Because like this one hanging on the wall, I'm not going to mount it anymore. I've got plenty of bears. I got rugs, and it's like, no, I just love the beauty of the coat just hanging there on the wall. I've got a collection of wolf skins that'll start adding to this mix.
Yeah.
And they're gorgeous red, black, gray. Like they're just cool. And I'm as much as I'm looking for a giant, old, just nasty bear.
Yeah. If
I come across like a really beautiful color phase, I'm not going to let size stop me.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'll take color over
size.
Yeah.
I've shot enough small bears now that I'm going for size.
Yeah.
But I've killed some nice bears. I killed one in Idaho that was 6.5, just over 6, somewhere between 6 and 6.5. I rugged it. My house isn't that big. I can't even put it on my wall.
Yeah. I feel you there.
So
I got mounts all over the state, in multiple states as well, where we're kind of in a transition phase with the house. And so the skulls and horns, they're kicking around all over the place, hanging wherever I can. I got some at Mountain Ops. I got some at other shops in town, where like my big bull I just killed in the last year.
Yeah.
That big 5 I took in the movie I made, The Struggle. Got it down at the shop, at the gym, the workout gym where I go. And it's like, until I have it, you have to figure out where to put things.
Yeah, that's the thing is I'm like, I could mount this, but where am I going to put it after I shoot it? I'll shoot it. Regardless, I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to bring the trophy home.
Yeah.
But what am I going to do if I mount it?
Yeah. That's where the skulls and horns and furs are nice.
It is.
I can pack tons of them in here, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of just having them hanging there, and we'll throw them over the couch and over on the floor. We actually use them as rugs quite a bit in my daughter's rooms and ours, and on the end of the bed. And I thought about taking these, because I have so many at this point, and actually making like a square quilt out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the bears hanging. I feel like there's, as much as I like to lay them on the ground, and they do get worn out and stuff, but what I wanted to do was make a square quilt. So have you seen like those guys that make the bison jackets and coats, and they have certain sewing machines where they stitch these hides together? And I was like, man, what if I had like square patches, and you had brown and black, and
that'd be super pretty.
And it was just one giant, like, the problem is I can't bring myself to cut up the
hides.
So I have struggled with that. But it would be a very practical use of all those furs. Yeah.
I have talking about furs, I have a obsession with bobcats. I love hunting bobcats. I've gotten decent at calling them in, and the last 2 I've shot at, I missed. One was user error. The other one, the scope was off. But I couldn't see the tree that I was shooting through because it was with a thermal at night in Texas. But man, I love bobcats.
They're way bigger than people think they are.
They can, yeah.
They can be.
I shot like the one of them I shot was 30 pounds, I think.
Yeah.
And they get 45, 50 pounds.
They're gorgeous too.
They are.
They're gorgeous. We just got back from hunting wolves in Alberta last week. We were up there, and they have these lynx tracks up there.
Oh.
Their feet are so huge. I mean, they defy the size of their bodies.
I think
they're all endangered or whatever. So nobody
the Canadian lynx are endangered. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go to Alaska and go after lynx. I'm a huge predator junkie because most of the time when I'm hunting, when I'm guiding and stuff, I guide all fall. I make time for myself to go. The last couple of years, I've made time for myself to do things. I shot a moose in Alaska last year.
Nice.
But really what's left for me to do the rest of the year is predators
Yeah.
and varmints and stuff like that.
Well, I would argue like we are leaning more on the predator hunting as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Utah just raised their prices for non-resident tags. You start looking around, all the states are dealing with a supply and demand issue when it comes to their tags. There's
Very much.
a lot of people in the world who want to go hunt, want to experience the West, want to go out and deer and elk hunt. And getting a tag, especially in a premium unit, is getting harder and harder. And if you're not a resident of the actual state,
It's really hard.
it's getting real tough. So people are, you know, the states have to figure out how to manage that demand. Colorado's changing up everything. You got to pick your unit. You know, there's no longer that over the counter just in general, and then you can just go anywhere you want, switch spots during the season. Now you got to like pick your spot and you got to stick to that unit.
Yeah.
Other regulations popping up. And, you know, I think that it's a good thing that we have so much demand for hunting and how many people want to hunt. You can kind of see the benefit of it in terms of the anti-hunting regulation being thwarted.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree.
You really do feel a political shift where the anti-hunting initiatives just aren't winning like they used to.
I would agree.
I mean, it
with that.
seemed like we were just losing opportunities to hunt.
We're losing ground all the time.
And now it does seem like there's a lot of opportunity now where hunters are winning the political argument. So they're not able to push wolf hunting bans like they were. They're not able to ban mountain lion hunting like they have been, or just all predator hunting. Yeah. It seems like there is a cultural shift in that regard, but what comes with that is a lot of appreciation for hunting because we're telling good stories and we're bringing people along and helping them understand why hunting matters, and they're seeing it from a much more nuanced perspective. And so at the same time, that means you have a lot of people who value hunting, understand it more, and want to experience it.
I would agree. So going along those lines, first off, I want to talk about the animal that I would probably want.
Hit me.
So up until like maybe 8 months ago, I would have told you elk, hands down. That's the one I would hunt.
Yeah. So I thought you were going to pick elk for sure, but
that's the one. I still love elk hunting.
Yeah.
But I've done it so much.
Yep.
Just this year, we've killed almost 30 elk. Right.
Okay.
And so it's not that it's not special to me still.
Yeah.
But I haven't done it for me for a long time. Most of what I've done for elk hunting is for other people. And honestly, I'm at a loss for what I would choose. Honestly, I'd probably choose, as long as I'm hunting in the mountains, I don't care what I'm hunting. That's probably what it comes down to.
I can understand that. You know, if I were to say black bear hunting, in my mind, it's also at like 8,000 feet in the mountains of the most wild places.
Yeah. As
the snow melts in the spring, the most epic wilderness forested areas and mountain areas in the Rockies. Location matters to me. In fact, the film I'm working on, I show a lot of low country bear hunts, which I've done extensively. This giant black bear we were looking at when you came in.
Yeah.
I've shot 3 giant bears on Prince of Wales Island, all with massive skulls, Boone and Crockett. And I love it. I do. But if I had to choose,
it's not the same as it is in the mountains.
No. And, the bears up at the top, like a lot of these bears I shot, and they're mountain goats on the same hillside. In fact, they're looking at each other while they're both feeding in grass on cliffs.
Last year we hiked up past a mountain goat to shoot a bear.
Yeah.
It's like,
and that right there, the bears up there, they're almost like a miniaturized version of black bear.
Yeah.
If you think of a Coues deer, Ryan shot 133-inch Coues deer.
That's a big
in Mexico
Coues deer.
A couple years ago.
That's a very big Coues deer.
And it's just a monster. In proportion to the body, there's the neck and shoulders on this Coues deer, plus the rack, and just overall, it huge. I mean, they don't get much bigger. That's record level.
Oh, yeah.
And so he shoots this coos deer. If you were to look at it from a distance with no perspective on it, you know, it looks like 170, 180 inch whitetail in Kansas. Yeah. Like running through corn, you know, cornfield. It just looks, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. When you get up on it, you know,
it's the size of a small goat.
It's like a big Labrador with horns, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, what you realize is, you know, from a distance looking at that buck, its body doesn't look feminine. Its body doesn't look small. The antlers don't look, they look heavy, thick, and strong.
Yep.
They look gnarly, like you put on a lot of bone and mass. And, you know, he has all the features of just a massive dream whitetail in the Midwest. And then you get up on it and it's like, still is that, but it's a scaled down version. It's a scaled down version.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like 150 pounds lighter but from a distance, it has all the same traits. What I mean is just because it's a coos deer doesn't make it any less masculine looking, you know, any less like impressive.
Yeah.
And so people watch our films where we hunt bears and they see some giant red bear with this thick neck and it's just like can barely move. Its ass is like jiggling and its shoulders are, and it's like barely, and it's breathing heavy. And from a distance, that thing looks all of 400 pounds.
And
it looks like it would look like on the Prince of Wales coastline walking down, just a giant. And we shoot it. And it looks as badass as it's flipping rocks and doing stuff. And you shoot it and you get up on it. And for guys that have hunted all this time on the coast, you know, or something in these areas where the bears are 7.5 foot, they come up here and they shoot a bear like that, and into their scope, they thought they shot another 7.5 foot because it has every trait and look and feel of those giants they're shooting on the coast.
Oh yeah.
But it's like a miniaturized scaled down version. It's no less impressive. It hit its maximal potential in size, but it's scaled down. It can't live at 10,000 feet.
No.
And eat, you know.
Well, it doesn't have a continuous supply of salmon coming past it every, you know, all summer long
with high fat.
Yeah.
And so that bear typically weighs, when it's a giant, you know, 270 pounds.
Yeah. You kill a 330-pound black bear in Idaho. That's a big bear.
They're usually in the lower country too. You don't see them at the top.
No.
And any bear that breaks 300 in the Rocky Mountains is an absolute monster.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get down, you know, that can be kind of an average Alberta bear.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, or a coastline, Ketchikan, Southeast Alaska, Vancouver Island, kind of, they just get big, dude.
We were talking to the biologist because we brought in a bear last year, and I would have guessed the age of that bear.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. So we were talking to one of the biologists in Idaho last year. We were talking with one of the biologists in Idaho when we checked our bear in Idaho last year.
Yeah.
And we had like 130, 140 pound bear. It was a big sow is what it was.
Yeah.
It was a kid's first bear. I took him out. He shot a bear. He was pumped about it, but he was like, it's not as big as I thought it would be. He's like, it looked so big from across the canyon. And I was like, yeah, I think it's a little bit younger bear, but we went to the biologist. He checked the teeth. He was like, no, this is like a 12-year-old bear.
Yeah.
And it puts it into perspective because bears are sometimes really hard to judge size-wise as well.
Mm-hmm. I killed a 15-year-old sow standing next to a 12-year-old boar, and that sow was just a hair shorter body length-wise. Otherwise, she looked every bit as male, and we didn't know it was a sow. You could not look at this bear and think that she's giant.
Yeah.
An absolute monster.
And they're so furry, you can't look for dingleberries.
Yeah.
Right? You just can't.
One of the wolves I shot was like 140 pounds. It was a female.
That's a big female.
And we've shot a bunch of males, and the biggest male we've killed is like 130. She weighed more
than a male.
Yeah. But her bones, her face, her jaws, her feet and stuff, they weren't quite like a male's.
Yeah.
But her stature was every bit
it was very masculine.
Yeah.
Masculine
with a much smaller head.
Yeah.
And quite a bit smaller feet. and yet just the height and the thickness in the body of a male.
Well, I was talking with one of my friends who's also my business partner, and he doesn't hunt very avidly.
Yeah.
He mostly is with me because he's an avid outdoorsman, but he also is really well organized. Mm-hmm. And I need that, frankly, right? Most of us that like to hunt are a little bit ADD in certain regards. It's like, what's over that next mountain? What's over the next one?
Sure.
And I needed somebody that's like content to sit on this mountain, right? But we went to Mexico on his first hunt. Mm-hmm. It was his first. He is not his first hunt. He's been on plenty of hunts with me.
Yeah.
But it was his first time behind the gun, and he shot a 32-inch aoudad, which is a big aoudad, but it was the smallest one we shot. And he was looking, when we first got there, he was like, "Oh my gosh, that one's huge." I was like, "That's a female," right?
Yeah.
And so much of the trophy aspect of hunting, is. Like, I was talking with one of the guys from Mexico, and the little deer, I can't remember what it's called. It's a little jungle deer in southern Mexico. They have horns like this big.
Sika or something?
No, it's not Sika. I can't remember. I don't know why it's not coming to me right now. But regardless, they have horns this big. Nobody cared about them. And then SCI added them to the trophy list.
Yeah.
And now they've quadrupled in price.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So what is it about the trophy? Like, we're talking about masculinity and trophy. Like, what is it that actually draws us to it? Because my business partner had zero perspective about how big an aoudad actually can be. A female looked giant to him. It looked massive.
Well, yeah. I think that the longer you're in the game, I don't know, there's so many variables that play into this, because when I go to an area, I know that if I kill a 170-inch mule deer, I'm killing an absolute. It's like a 210-inch buck in this area.
Yeah.
Like, just finding a mule deer, let alone taking one of that age class, is amazing. So we have leaned more heavily on age as a trophy than actual physical characteristics over the years. And you think about it. I killed a black bear with my bow last year. And this bear was ancient, but I watched him, it was like they used a crib, and they had some bait, that they had set up, and it was sitting there for months. And so the biggest bear in the neighborhood was coming in, or the most, the oldest bear. It came in, I was looking at it, and I'm like, it doesn't look kind of what I'm expecting for this area, Took me probably 30 minutes of watching this bear. He left, came back. Other bears were coming in as well. Got a really good, clean look at it. I didn't know what I was looking at,
Yeah.
I mean, it was really hard to judge. Then I realized, oh my gosh, Brian, you're looking at an absolute giant. You were looking at a giant that is on his way down.
Yeah.
Like, may not live through the end of this year. More emaciated and skinny. But his head was gigantic. His feet were gigantic. His height was gigantic. He just didn't have the girth and stuff, and
blockiness.
And then I saw him still like rule the roost and chase off a much thicker, younger, stronger looking bear than him, but he still managed to drive him away. I ended up shooting this bear. When I got up on it, his teeth were gone. His entire claws were just not there. Like, this bear had been through, he's ancient. He had a bullet behind his right eyeball, right or left, I don't remember, where we pulled the bullet out of the lead out of the back of his eye. I couldn't tell that he was blind in that eye when I was watching him, but there was a bullet there, and there was no bullet in the skull. Like, it had to go through the eye to get in there.
To get in where it was.
And then there was another bullet in his body cavity. Pulled them both out. They looked like 223s. And yet this bear survived.
Just took it.
And you just looking at it, that bear was, I ended up killing a bear that was substantially like more robust looking and thicker and stuff. But yet this bear was like well over 7 feet hanging from the pole. Squared. And much bigger skull and bigger body, frame. But and that to me was a lot. Same with some mule deer I've killed. I've killed some pretty average antler size bucks that have been around, 9 years, 8 years. And it's like, hey, that's a gnarly. We call them the old and crusties, when you're shooting something that's old and crusty, that is in itself you found a unicorn.
Oh yeah.
You found the one animal that, despite it all, somehow beat the odds for nearly a decade.
He beat hunters. He beat wildlife. He beat the elements. Everything.
There's something about finding that critter that stands out and is so different than the rest that makes it special.
Yeah.
And so, but back to what you were saying about location.
Yeah.
A lot of gentlemen want to shoot a 7.5 foot black bear, a 7 foot black bear.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, when you kill a 5.5 foot black bear at 10,000 feet next to a mountain goat, and the miniaturized, scaled down version of your coastal bear, but every bit as
impressive.
We're talking 15 and 17-year-old bears, 18-year-old bears. They're at their maximal potential. They are the unicorns. Size matters less and less. It's more about that adventure and appreciating the animal in that particular space.
Yeah.
So it's like when you do have a tag, if the oldest age class animal that's taken in that unit is typically 5, because they issue
like
4,000 tags for that unit, and you come out with something that's
9,
or just 5.
You're like, yes, I got the top.
You got the
5%.
top of what's available. So there's something. You set your own. If you do it right, I think you set your own benchmark for the challenge you're trying to experience, you're trying to have.
That's why I called my business process-based hunter, is because everybody has, to a degree, all of us follow a similar process in a lot of ways as far as how we go about obtaining the animal from the mountain.
Yeah.
But to a large degree, why we hunt is different.
Yeah.
And and not just why, but how we want to go about it, right? Like there's some guys, they don't want to do anything. They want to sleep in a cabin. Mm-hmm. They want to sit in a tree stand over bait.
Corey Jacobson said, if I can't call the elk in, I don't want to shoot it.
Yeah. And to me, I don't care. I love calling an elk. It's one of my favorite things to do.
I hate it.
Do you?
Yeah, I hate it.
I'll come and help you call.
I've killed a lot of call-ins. I would much rather just sneak up on it. There's something really fulfilling about that.
Spawn stock is fun.
But Corey's like, shoot me in the head if I have to sneak up on it. I want it to come blazing in with its eyes rolled back, ready to kill. And I get the allure to that, but I don't like the quickness of the moment and the situation. I like the animal to never know I'm there and to be like take my time.
You're maintaining the stillness that you're feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
It's more my style. Everybody's different. Like you were just saying, some people want a certain type of experience, and that even goes to comfort levels and sacrifice and how much you got to hike and grind.
See, I was talking with one of my guides too, and he's a pretty diehard mule deer hunter. He'd do anything for a mule deer. Mm-hmm. If you talk about elk, he's like, nah. Yeah. Right. And so I'm like, what sounds fun to me is getting as far from any human being as I possibly can get, and then spring black bear hunting for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. Or elk hunting, even if I'm in an area.
It's so accessible too. Like that particular thing you're talking about, there is nothing preventing that from happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like bear tags are accessible. Those remote regions are accessible. The bears are there and you run into no one. That's one of the only Western hunts still available where that happens unless you draw some premium tag, which is, we're only going to get a handful of those in our whole life.
Talking about premium tags in a wilderness area, one of my friends drew a tag in Nevada. I don't know. It's been 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But I went with him. He didn't know what he got.
Yeah.
He didn't know what he got. He calls me and he's like, hey, I drew a tag in Nevada. I was like, which one? And he's like, the Jarbidge Wilderness. I was like, oh my gosh. He's like, well, I think I'm going to turn it back in because I'd already promised my buddy I was going to go over TC hunting in Colorado. I was like, I will slap you if you do that.
Yeah, yeah.
We went in there, spent 4 days. He ended up killing a really nice bull. It's called 355.
Wow.
I thought it was 330. I guessed it way down. But we hiked it out 11 miles on our backs. Just gear, meat, horns, everything. There was 4 of us. But that was the most miserable pack out of my life. but it was also probably one of the most memorable hunts I've ever been on.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the experiences that I want to have.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, I do like a little bit more easy hunt. That's why I like bobcat hunting.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, Pedro was talking to me. He's like, "Oh, I went hunting with Pedro on Puero, and this was years ago. Took him on his first real intense black bear hunt." And he said to me, "Do you ever do any fun hunts?" About halfway through the hunt, and I was like, "What do you mean?"
This is great.
This is great. And he's like, "No, like fun, like you're at a lodge, you're joking with guys, you go out in the evening, shoot a whitetail or a pig, come home." I'm like, thinking in my head. I was
like, that doesn't really sound that fun to me.
I'm like, I really have not done that in a long, long time. And so the last couple of years, I've tried to put like 1 or 2 fun hunts that I probably will never showcase on Gritty or anything else. It's not like you did anything special,
Yeah, yeah.
But it is enjoyable to just go out with your buddies, no pressure.
And there's nothing wrong with either one.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. But at the same time, low sacrifice, low reward.
Yeah.
Like
you're not looking from the top of a mountain down, right?
Yeah.
That it's very much like I sat in a chair over bait, and it was fun because I got
in between donuts and soda. Tell me this. So tell the audience about process-based hunter. Talk a little bit about how this came to be.
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to do with this thing?
So
why is it here?
At a younger age, and still to a degree, I struggled with depression pretty severely.
Mm-hmm.
And hunting was very much my rock and my antidote in a lot of ways. And not necessarily just hunting, but being outside, fishing. I remember feeling really, really bad going on a scout camping trip when I was like 18 years old, feeling really low. And going on that scout camp trip, we went and caught cutthroats 8 miles in the middle of nowhere in Idaho. And it was really special to me. Mm-hmm. So hunting has become special to me because of how I feel while I'm out there. I feel a calmness that I feel out there that I don't feel anywhere else.
Yeah.
Except maybe with my wife and my children.
Yeah, yeah.
But even then, I'm still parenting. It's still difficult. But I actually started doing door-to-door sales. I don't know. I can't remember what year. It's been 8-10 years ago, maybe not 8, 7, something like that years ago.
Yeah.
So I did that. And because I did that, I had a fall open. I made so much money doing door-to-door sales that I was like, I'm not going to go to college. This is stupid. So I quit college and I just reached out to a local outfitter and I was like, hey, can I come and guide for you?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I need a guide. That's perfect. And he's like, because I worked all the summer. I made the money I needed to for the whole year in 3 months.
Yeah.
And then I got to go guide.
Yeah.
That's kind of what got me into the guiding industry. Before that, I always enjoyed taking people out just for fun.
Sure.
Whether it was me hunting or not, I just wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And that set a catalyst off. I guided for 2 or 3 years for him. Started my own outfit with another partner. It just didn't work out with him. There's nothing necessarily wrong about it. We didn't necessarily fit together.
Yeah.
I actually did a pretty terrible job my first year as an outfitter. Well, it's not terribly surprising, but I felt really bad because of that. And I thought, what value am I actually adding to people?
Yeah.
I took a guy on a $32,000 elk hunt. I mean, and he saw massive elk.
Yeah.
385 inch bulls.
Mm-hmm.
So I took this guy out hunting, a couple others for really expensive hunts.
$32,000. Huh?
$32,000 for an elk hunt. And it was so shallow. It just felt so shallow to me. Even, the guy was a little bit difficult. And that turned me off. There's some things that he did and said that I was like, but at the same time,
you get it though. Like guys pay $32,000.
He's expecting a lot and I get it. But at the same time,
that's an example though of how the hunting industry and, how the demand for it is at a certain stage and people with money,
they can afford to do what they want.
Yeah. And they also often, you feel like you can just buy what you want.
Yeah.
If you have enough money and you've been able to do that,
you've already earned what you want.
Yeah. And in truth, there's a lot of the reality is there's a lot of truth in this.
It is.
You can, if you have enough money, you can kind of go buy what you want.
Yeah.
But 32,000 for an elk hunt is kind of in that. I mean, I see guys spend 80 grand, 100 grand, 170 grand. So, it's a,
it's ridiculous, but to put it in perspective, it wasn't that much, but it's a lot of money for most of us.
Yeah.
Right. But it felt very shallow. I kind of was losing my purpose of why I liked to be in the wilderness areas a lot. And so I decided after that, there was a little bit of a split between me and my business partner, just a mutual split. And I got a job just working normally, but I missed being outside a lot. And so I had an epiphany is what I call it.
Yeah.
I can't say that it must have come from something greater than myself, because the whole business platform came to me in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And what I loved to do was teach people why I loved the outdoors. And so what I started doing is I have a few different courses that I do, but I love teaching people. I love helping them understand that it's not all about the kill. It's not all about the trophy. It's about the process that it took you to get to that point. I think I was 17 when I shot my first elk. First deer, I was probably 13, but I worked really hard for 5 years before I finally killed an elk. Ever since then, I've killed one like every single year.
Yeah.
It was like something snapped in me, but the process is actually the more rewarding part in a lot of ways. And there's a process to everything. There's a process of how you learn. It takes time to learn things. And the more I broke it down, there's actually a process that I follow every time I go hunting.
Yeah.
In the mountains. And there's a specific style that I follow every single time. And the more I thought about it, almost everybody does it the same way. Whether they view it that they do the same way or not, it's very much a process. So I started having clients come out, and I could take more clients, charge less money, and give them more value for less money, basically. But at the same time, providing better for my family and my employees. So what I do is I actually take people out hunting with a tag in their pocket, and it's semi-guided, but the first 2 days of the 7-day experience, we teach you how to hunt elk. We teach you the process that we follow, what to do, how to glass them, where to find them, what they need, how to call in elk, all those different things. And then the last 5 days, it's a semi-guided course. So what I mean by that is we take them out. The first 2 or 3 days of that, while they're actually hunting, we're with them about 50% of the time. And then they continually get more and more weaned off of us as they go through that course, to where, like last year on the last day of the course, there was a guy archery hunting, shot an elk. He'd never shot an elk before.
Yeah.
Called it in, shot it with his bow in an over-the-counter unit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
And that was really rewarding. It was like, oh, my children are growing up, But we also had quite a few people miss with bows,
of course,
with rifles. It happens. People get really excited, especially if it's their first time hunting, and they're like, "Oh my gosh,
buck fever is a real thing."
Yeah, they're like, elk actually exist. You know? But last year was phenomenally good for shot opportunities. We averaged about 54% for archery shot opportunity, 84 for rifle. This year, I would assume that we're going to be back towards more normal. It just depends on the year. Some years it's 25%. This year, 85% was great.
Yeah.
But that's really what led me to do this. Is I just have I love people too, and I love building relationships with people.
Yeah.
It's probably the thing that dominates most of my hunting desires.
Yeah. Anymore,
I'm just as happy to watch my business partner or you shoot an animal as I am to watch myself do it.
Ryan, my buddy Lampers, he's run the Western Hunting Summit for a good 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And, 2-3 camps a year, people come down and they basically learn a lot about scouting, getting tags, how to shoot a bow or a rifle, where to find animals, all that stuff. It's a 3 or 4 day weekend where you just learn a lot. If you're going to hunt bear country, there's bear defense course, and he's got these different people that show up, and they learn quite a bit over this course of these few days. But then they kind of, they got to go out on their own when the season starts. They get a tag in their pocket and they're kind of like, okay, here I go. And would that, Ryan could actually, or someone that was teaching at the seminar could just go with them for a few days and sort of
help them recognize the things they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
And what they're doing right.
In the actual environment.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting concept that what you put together, because you're doing that. You're providing that. So someone can basically sign up. They have a tag in their pocket.
Yeah.
And you're like a mentor.
Yeah. And that's
during
really
the hunt.
Whenever anybody asks me what's your success rate, I say it's 100% on our goal, which is teaching you how to hunt elk.
Yeah.
We have 100% success rate on teaching you how to hunt elk.
It's huge because, if with the experience that you've got, and you have someone who's never hunted elk before, if they come out just going out with you, or one of the guides with all the years of experience of elk hunting, I could take someone with me.
Oh yeah.
And in 1 week, dude, they have learned so much that they can now do this on their own after that.
Oh yeah, easily.
But that I've talked to so many guys that don't have a mentor, didn't what we're not. And look, I see 2 or 3 guys come out from back east, no idea what they're doing. They just show up and they wander around together and they figure it out. That's cool. But there is no substitute for a quality mentor.
And that, for me, that was my dad, right?
Yep. And same here, dad, uncles, friends. And then as I progressed, I would find, it's like my dad killed an elk every few years with a bow. Well, then I got to be friends with guys that killed 3 elk with a bow every year and were just monster slayers, right? Yeah. Then you start following them, and it's like that mentorship is massive. I look at where I am today in my ability to hunt, my woodcraft kind of skill, my woodsman's, my backpacking, all that kind of stuff, my wilderness survival. So much of where I am today was the act of doing the thing.
Yeah.
But also doing it with some of the best people in that respective field. Guys that knew a lot about backpacking, and guys that knew a lot about fitness, or guys that knew a lot about shooting.
Yeah.
Guys that knew a lot about a certain species and how to find them and where they go and how to kill them. Mistakes that, I would have made year over year over year, I was able to
figure out 2 weeks.
Yeah. And not do ever,
yeah.
The rest of my hunting life. You can do it. I mean, I encourage everyone to just go out and go. That's the best, that's the best start. But man, you can really, fix that learning curve.
Yeah.
Make it so much easier on yourself.
Yeah. And that's really our goal with this. And so we were talking about how hard it is to get a tag anymore too, for a lot of these non-residents. It's getting harder and harder, and it will get harder and harder to get a tag. So my recommendation, if you can get a tag, you can't afford to come with me, just get out there and do it. Right. But the problem with that is you may go out. I actually had a meeting with a guy a couple of days ago, and he was talking to me about a tag he has in Colorado in a wilderness area. And honestly, in my mind, I was like, I don't think he stands a chance to kill one.
Yeah.
Because as much as I could explain it to him, he's not willing to go where the elk are in the wilderness area.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. If you don't know what you're doing, but you obtain a tag, you may give up the 1 or 2 or 3 chances in a 10-year period that you can actually kill an elk, or even have the chance to kill an elk.
Yeah.
Right. And my goal with this is to shorten the learning curve enough that everybody that goes out after they come to the course will stand a good chance of, when they get that tag, especially if it's a good tag that they draw, they'll have a really good chance killing an elk, or at least knowing enough of what they're doing to where if they don't kill an elk, they're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because they understand what they're trying to do.
So often these sort of events also create a networking. It's a networking experience. They create connections.
Yeah.
So a guy leaves and he might have met another couple hunters.
And it's like, these are my hunting buddies now.
Now these are my buddies. They have you on call to say, hey, last year was great. I got this dilemma. They can text you and figure out.
They do. Yeah.
And then you can go, oh, this is what I do. They create these lasting connections that are resources. Half of the guys that come to the Western Hunting Summit, they find their long-term hunting partner there.
Yeah.
And 2 or 3 guys might team up that clicked at the summit, and now they're every year going out together because no one was in their circle at home really wanted to do these hard things. Yeah. They so finding the people that are your people.
Yeah.
That's hard too. So a lot of people give up, quit, never quite learn. They always dream about maybe doing it someday, but actually don't. So, process-based hunter is a interesting concept, and you've been doing it for how many years now?
So last year was our first full year. I've been doing it for 2 years, but like this year we're expanding a lot. So we've been doing it 2.5 years at this point.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of great feedback. We've improved a lot over the last 2.5 years as well. But man, I think that what's been impressive to watch is how many people want to come back.
Yes.
Right.
That is so common. And it's a testament to when you're actually providing value.
Yeah. Well, like I teach them how to hunt elk, and I'm like, hey, all the things I'm teaching you aren't just applicable to elk.
Yeah.
They're applicable to mule deer, to black bears, all these things. And they're like, when are you going to do a black bear hunting course?
Yeah.
And do the same thing you did. I was like, I don't think you need it. He was like, it's not that I need it. I just want to come and hang out with you again.
Yeah. That's the same thing at the summits. We're doing these seminars where we're teaching people elk hunting or black bear hunting. We see the same people sign up year over year. A lot of the same people.
They enjoy being there.
And it's also your tribe, and a chance to get together and all that. So if people want to follow up, look into it, get a hold of you, where do they go?
So processbasedhunter.com is where you can look us up on the website. We have a couple of different things. We have an elk hunting boot camp that's very much more geared towards teaching people how to shoot in mountain type scenarios. Mm-hmm. But most of what we do is the semi-guided courses, and we have a few drop camps that we offer. So what we tried to do is we have people that come out. You take our semi-guided course. Right now I'm booked out for rifle for 2025. We can get you on a wait list for 2026, but we have plenty of availability for archery. I think we have 10 spots left, as well as 10 spots left for muzzleloader season, which can be really good because it'll stretch your limits a little bit, but you still have a little bit more extended range. But after you come and take the semi-guided course, then we have opportunities that we will help you obtain OTC tags to come and hunt in one of our drop camps every single year so that you can then continue your learning curve, continue practicing.
That's pretty cool. So, processbasedhunter.com.
Yep.
And they can just kind of get on that site and start looking.
Yep. And we have a chat app in there that if they send that, they send that, it sends a text directly to me or one of my guides. They can also just shoot us a call. We're more than happy to answer calls anytime.
Very cool. Well, folks, go check it out. processbasedhunter.com. And Tate, thank you for coming in today and sitting down with us. I think there's a demand for what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's so many people that really do want to do this. I found in the education space with Livesey and I at Treeline, from his e-scouting course that people buy online, his elk hunting course, to the seminars that we do in the Western Hunting Summit. Dan Staten does elk shape, elk camp.
Yeah.
It's like, there is just simply a hunger for this type of service, and I am not a guide type guy.
It takes a lot of patience,
dude. I am. First of all, I don't like having employees. I don't like managing people. I don't like. I like to take a friend hunting. I like to go hunting with buddies.
Of course.
But I'm not the guy. I admire, the patient ones, and I'm a harsh critic. I really am. I'm like, and I don't, when I get into the kill mode, like in my head, I'm so aggressive and dialed and want to go that I have a really hard time with someone that's not keeping up, that's not in shape, that doesn't have the ability to shoot. That I sound awful. I sound like a horrible person, but, if it's my own kids, that's not finding grace for that is easy.
Yeah.
If it's for my dad, like pretty easy, certain individuals. But for the most part, I've learned over the years that, and I'm much more patient and easygoing than I used to be. But yeah, I don't understand. Like my buddy Anthony guides, he's brilliant. Cousin Ben is doing it. They're really good. I've been around others. Ryan Lampers with his own daughters is absolutely amazing. And so I see people mentor others in the field.
Yeah.
I want to teach you at home, but in the field, we're going to probably
butt heads.
I might just chew your ass out when you don't deserve it.
It does take a lot of patience. There was a guy last year, it happens every year actually, that I'll be like, there's an elk right there. There's an elk right there. And then, Where's the elk at?
Yeah.
It takes me 45 minutes sometimes to explain where this elk is at.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm so goal oriented in getting the animal that sometimes I have to go into it with the goal of it's not to get an animal, it's to help this person become better, and I can do it, but it is not something I want to do. It is not in my DNA. Like it's just not. And so I've admired my uncle's a guide. He owns High Point Outfitters in Arizona.
Yeah. And
he's been doing it most of his life, and I've hunted with him for years. He's great. He's so good with hunters.
Yeah.
There are some people who just have the gift. I admire it. I am not one of them.
And I respect that, Brian.
I'm more of a podcaster.
There's nothing wrong with that either.
So anyway, folks, go check out processbasedhunter.com. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. Let us know what you think in the comment section of this video, and we'll respond to anything you've got going on down there. Reach out to Tate Bradfield and see if he can help you out if you're interested in what he has to offer. Thanks again, and stay gritty.